Welcome to this webinar on how to go paperless, made easy. We are really excited to share this wealth of information with you. I want you to keep a big picture in mind, which is that when we're in dentistry, we of course, first and foremost, are providing quality care to our patients and giving them a pleasant experience as they come to our office and see our doctors and hygienists and providers. But if you take a step back, dentistry is in a way like any other industry, which is that there's some sales elements involved. There's a sales process involved. These patients that we see have a choice to go anywhere, not just your practice. So there may be another practice down the street. There may be one even a little bit further away, but they provide a great experience, so they may choose to go there. So we really need to promote our practice as being ahead of the curve. And part of that is to remove what's called friction from the process that the patient's going to go through coming to our office. So removing friction from that flow, removing friction from that sales process is going to really pay dividends. And going paperless removes that friction, removes the steps, the time investment, the effort involved from both the patient side and the office side to make this interaction pleasant and delightful. So we really want to keep that big picture in mind of why we're trying to go paperless. It's not just a buzzword, it's an actual real benefit to your office and all the team members in your office, as well as the patients, of course. So I am your host today, Neil Kotari. I'm the COO of PracticeWeb, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to spend some time with you today. Please do like the video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's a great thing to subscribe so that anytime we provide great content, whether it's webinars or tutorials, you'll be notified. And so you want to hit that bell icon as well to get notified. We are an industry-leading practice management software. We've been in the industry since 1994, going back decades. And so we've gathered a lot of experience, and that's why we're able to speak with authority when it comes to a topic like going paperless. We've also helped and do help solo to multi-location practices, as well as generalists and specialists thrive. And that is our mission, to help dentists thrive any which way we can through our software solutions. And finally, we are an all-in-one practice management solution. Whatever your need is when it comes to software on the practice management side, we can provide that. And so going paperless has several components to it. And so we have a solution for each of those components as I'll go over. Now let's start with, what do dentists actually think paperless is? Well, we talk to a lot of dentists, and we know about different setups they have. So some folks have the idea that, for example, going paperless means putting some forms on your website and having your patients download those forms, print them out, fill them out on paper, bring them in. And once they bring them in, someone is assigned with the task of scanning them in to your system. And then once you scan it in, you would drop it into the patient's record or images folder in PracticeWeb. As we'll go over, that is certainly not the definition of paperless. Now, what do paperless offices actually do, right? And again, a lot of people think it just means patient forms, but that is just one component of a multi-pronged approach. So I'm going to reveal the different parts of your office that you can make paperless. And in today's webinar, we're going to cover some of them because there's so many components, and we will have a part 2 where we cover the rest. So I'm just going to go through in a sequence where just mirroring the patient journey, right? So obviously when the patient first wants to come to your practice, they need to schedule. Now you can make that digital or paperless by providing online scheduling, which we have a tool to do that in PracticeWeb. Next, of course, the big kahuna would be paperless forms. So that's going to be covered today. Then we have appointment reminders. So the appointment reminders, where right now you may have them postcards, especially for recare appointments, that can be done digital, and take away also the phone effort to an extent. Then paperless charts, we want to do everything in the digital chart as opposed to half in, half out. Electronic prescribing, which is not only a good idea, but it's required in most states now, including this year, I believe California and a couple other big states came online with the legal requirement to do electronic prescribing. Then we have the good old e-claims. So it used to be the case that it was a kind of a fancy new thing to do e-claims. Now it's just become standard practice for almost every office, and it should be. And if you're not on e-claims, you're really missing out in terms of productivity. And so we'll cover that in the next webinar, but it's not only e-claims, but you have electronic attachments integrated, real-time eligibility check, which is electronic, as well as EOBs can be done electronically. So there's no paper involved in that process. Then we have billing, of course. So e-statements and pay by text is the way to make your billing go paperless. And again, remember that patients have digital experiences in every industry, whether they're dealing with, let's say, their phone service provider or any other industry. They are doing all these things, a lot of these things paperless. So they kind of expect that from their dentist now too. Recall reminders. So again, instead of postcards, or at least in addition to postcards, you should be doing that digitally. And then email marketing. So this is the whole cycle of what a true paperless office really does. Now, what are the benefits? So we talked about the myths and kind of misunderstandings about it and what it really is. Why should we even consider doing this? Well, first of all, any inefficient processes that are paper-based are costly to your office. And it's sort of a silent cost or silent killer, if you want to call it. You don't really realize it because it's just we've always done it this way, right? We've always done it this way. It works for us. We don't have any reason to change. Well, again, you're having a silent cost on your practice and your productivity. And roughly $10,000 is the cost of the time spent pulling and filing charts, paper-based charts. And that includes, even if it's just forms, you have a lot of effort involved in that. Then you have all the supplies involved. So that's about $4,000, almost $4,500 with the supplies, with paper, ink, pen, paper, all that stuff. Then you have time spent with manual entries. Let's say you're taking a form and now you have to enter it into Practice Web. That's taking time and energy from your team. And then finally you have storage. So storing all that as long as you need to store it for, and shredding it, etc. eventually, and the costs associated with that. So if you want to put a number behind it, roughly 18,000. Of course, that amount can vary. It could be bigger, smaller for certain practices, but it's a large amount. It's not something to just ignore. The other thing is that there was a study done by the Journal of the Medical Association, JAMA. They did a study where they looked at entry errors when it comes to paper-based electronic health records. And so about, when they had patients actually look at their own charts and look at their own forms and everything in the medical history and all that information, 21% of the charts had errors. And you can see on the left side here why that might be the case. When it comes to the taking paper and manually entering it into your system, I'm sure you've had the case where you couldn't read someone's handwriting. Maybe you just assumed it said something and it actually said something else, or you had to call them and bother them and clarify that, or call them up from the reception, the waiting room, and try to clarify it. So again, this is prone to error when you talk about paper and manually entering that in. Now, big thing that we care about is patient happiness. That is the key to success. So what do patients want? So about 87% of patients want to do their forms paperless. If they had a choice, they would go for paperless, not using a clipboard and a pen, or doing it at home on paper. And it does create a positive experience. About 27% of patients do think that having a pleasant, friendly experience with your team is important to them. But interestingly enough, even more than that, 28% wanted to have this sort of efficiency of doing paperless forms, right? And 10% of those surveyed said that the use of these digital technologies will really improve their experience. So overall, it's good for patient happiness. Now, how does it improve efficiency? Or how does the efficiency you get from paperless help you with patient care, patient happiness. Well, if you look at your whole team, busy office, you're saving about 12 hours per week from all those things I talked about before, scanning in, manually entering things in, maintaining all your paper records, paper forms. You get to use that time you've saved to do important things. The key thing that you have in the office when a patient is there is that the patient is there, right? When the patient is there, you have a 100% chance to talk to them. You have a 100% chance to discuss scheduling, collecting balances, and bonding and building that relationship. So it's great for the front. It's great for the back office because that time that you're saving can also be spent on focusing on superior care. Now, what is the first strategy? Now I've given you all that information about what and the why. So the strategy number one would be patient forms. Now, when it comes to patient forms, we still get a lot of questions about Practice Web and how you can go digital and how that all works. So I wanted to take this opportunity to really get in the nitty gritty and show it to you. So mobile forms are very versatile. You can use them. Some people think it's maybe just for new patients, but it's actually for new and existing patients for any type of form you want. You can create form packets, meaning in one single link, let's say, there's always usually a link involved for these mobile forms. So in that link, you can include multiple forms, not just one. And you can reach patients their preferred way. So if they want to do it from your website, they can. If they want to do it through texting or email, you can do that too. So the first thing I want to show you, this is a short demo, but I want to show you how to set up the mobile patient forms in Practice Web. And again, you're going to learn things even if you've done it before, because there's some new features in here that I want to share. So I'm going to show you here within Practice Web. What we are going to first do is make sure when you're creating the forms, you want to make sure you're logged in without any patient selected. So go in when you're first into Practice Web. That's when you want to create all the stuff I'm going to show you. Then you want to check in Sheets under the Setup menu, making sure your forms that you want are in there, they're ready to go. So that's kind of like the first step, is making sure your forms are created and looking the way you want them to. And if you ever need help with that, we can show that to you. So let's assume that your forms are ready to go. You want to go digital now or start using them digital. You go to Setup and then Web Forms. And here in my example here, you see that there are some listed, but if you don't have any listed, you click on Add, you select the forms you want, click OK, and it'll add the form. Now you've taken that digital, right? So how do we set that up and start using it? So the multi-form thing is right here. So you can select the first form from that left panel, and then you go here to select the next couple forms. And this is meaning that they're all going to be included in the same link that you send to the patient. So let's say registration form, HIPAA, medical history. I just added those, and now all three are going to show up in the same link. And that link is right here below where it says browser URL mobile. Browser means it's just a different look for the form. And so what I would say is test it. So here you can see if I go to the URL, it's showing you what it's going to look like, right? This is on the browser. So this is good if you're just using them on your computer, but nowadays the default should be going mobile because most of these patients are doing it on their phone. So that's called this mobile URL right here. And you would click to check if it looks good. You just go click on navigate to URL and you can see your mobile form. Now it looks weird when you blow it up like this, but imagine on a phone. I'm going to show this to you later on a phone. It will be very, very user-friendly for them to fill out and easy to do. And the next button shows you that you can go to the next form after you're done with this one and submit them all together. Now, another couple things that you can add a logo to your mobile forms. So here's one that I've added, just a kind of a fake logo. And that will be now appearing on all your things and your forms. And you can see the size limit and the pixels and everything. So if you have any confusion on that, again, let us know. The redirect URL is a nice feature. What that means is after they submit the form, where do you want them to go back to? So maybe you want them to end up on a thank you page, right? Every time they fill out a form, you can create a redirect URL and they'll show up on your thank you page. And it'll just, have a standard message for them. So it'll be branded the way you like. So those are a couple things you can do here when you're setting them up. And then when you're done, you basically click OK. So now that's how you set them up. The next idea or concept is, how do we send these forms to the patient? So we've created the URLs, we've set them up. Now this is a really cool feature. So if we watch here, I'm going to show you how we're going to take those same forms we created and text them out. Now, let's say we have a patient, Aaron Brothers, who's coming in. We want to text it, but first we have to set up the templates for this. So there's a couple ways to text the forms. I'm going to show you one way here where you can first make sure that the form is the way you want and it has all the things you want in there. Then you can copy it to the clipboard. So again, make sure you're not selecting a patient at this point, because if you do, then it'll show the patient's name every time you open that form. So you make sure, and then you go into this quick paste notes, have a category. You probably have one called text messages. If you don't, create one called text, and make sure the default is also text message, TXT MSG. Now what that means, I'm going to pause for a second just so I can explain. What that means is every time I go into any text message from Practice Web, I'm going to go to the quick paste note and I'll immediately be taken to this category. That's why we do that defaulting. So now I'm going to go back, and this is showing how to set up the template to send out the form, text out the form that we created. So now I'm going to let's take new patient forms. So under abbreviation, which is it's an important thing you can use later as well, NP forms. And then I'm going to type out a message here. Hello, we look forward to seeing you soon. And then please fill out these forms essentially before the appointment. And then I'm going to drop in the link that I grabbed from the web forms, that copy to clipboard button. There's the link. Now there's an option here. It's optional. You don't have to do this. This is good enough as is. But if you want to shorten that link, there's a free service called Bitly. If you go to bitly.com or bit.li.com, either way, you can put in your link like I just did there. You can click on shorten. Boom, you've shortened it. Now you can grab that link and then put it into your template. Again, this is entirely optional. This will work the way it is, but if you want to shorten it, make it look a little nicer, now it's a little, easier on the eyes. So now I've created this template. I can click OK. I'm done setting it up. And then now I'm going to show you how to use that template. So let's say this patient, I'm going to click on the text button, go right into the text field here, and I can do one of two things. I can either do question mark and then put the abbreviation. You saw how quick that was, a little quick, so I'll show it to you one more time here. So if I just type a question mark and then the abbreviation, it will automatically populate the whole thing. So you can have like a cheat sheet on your front office desk with all these abbreviations if you want, and then your team can easily do it. Or you can do insert quick paste note, find it, and then and click OK, and it's there. So you're done. Your template's there. You've picked it, the new patient forms. You click send, and it's off to the races. And now you can see that text. If you go to read messages, you can see right there is the text message that they already received within like a second. So now they just have to click on that link, fill it out, and you can see I just clicked on that link, and you can see that's the right form and set of forms. So this is the process. It's that easy to text. There's some setup involved, which we can help you with it, but once you're set up, it's like clockwork with your templates. Another option I can show you, but some people find this a bit confusing, so if you don't want to use this, that's fine. You can create the same set of forms, and then the selected patient will already be there, and you just click that text button and they got the text. So it's quicker in a way, but some people find it confusing to go here and do this. But you can see that Aaron Brothers is already, the selected patient is there, and then we can see that we'll see in a moment here that the patient got the text as well from there. So if we go to the text, read messages, there's that second one. So that second one is the one we just sent from the web form screen. So whatever works for you, the template or the web forms option, text button, but this can be really, really easy for your office. And I think that's about it on this. Yeah, that's it on the texting side. And then we have another option to email. So let's talk about that. Emailing the forms. How do we get that done in Practice Web? Again, it's all about creating templates. So what we're going to show here is how to create an email template and then send that out. Again, we have this same patient, Aaron Brothers. Let's first set it up to have the template. We'll go to web forms again, make sure no patient is selected because you're grabbing the kind of global link for these forms. And so now we're going to pick, either one here, whether mobile or browser. I would select the mobile. So I'm going to click on the mobile URL. So I've copied that to my clipboard. I click OK. Then I go to my email setup section. So there's a section where you can set up your emails. And actually, one quick way to do it is just click on any patient and then click on email and get to that screen. And so then here is the email template section. You can add a new one. I've already created one just to go make it a little quicker. But here you can see there's new patient forms template. And what you can do is even, have it so that when you use the template, their first name always shows up in the email. So there's all these little things you can do with these placeholders. But the important part is let's get the forms in there. So what I'm going to do is you can do it this way, or if you want to make it look a little bit nicer, you can click on Edit HTML, which I'm going to show you. And you can then hyperlink the phrase. So it'll say, please click here. And then they click that sentence and they can then access their forms. So edit HTML, and then I will click on this ext link. I'll highlight what I want to do or hyperlink here. And then I'm going to click on ext link. And that's where I'm going to paste the form, the new patient, package of forms. And then I'm going to type what I want it to show here. Please click here to complete your new patient forms. I click OK. It's ready. Now, if I go back out to look at the, what it looks like, you can actually see it right there on the right side. So that just looks a little bit nicer. You don't have a raw link in the thing, but you can do it either way. Again, we can help you set this up. We've created this one here through the edit HTML, and now we're ready to use it. So I'm going to show you how we can use this template for that patient, Aaron Brothers. So I'm going to click that template, simply click insert. Boom, it's right there. And everything is ready to go. You literally just have to press send. So once you set up these templates, I'm going to go back to that. So right here. So once you set up you might have, let's say 5 templates or however many you want for forms. Once it's set up, it's so easy. You just select it, insert, and literally just click send, because even the name is customized or automatically populated for you. So you can see how once you do the setup, then every day forward, it's going to be very, very easy for anyone whether they're new to your office or they've been there for a while. Now, the next thing I want to cover is what's the patient experience of this, and how do offices then get the forms? So I'm going to show you both sides of that. Here's an example of a cell phone. Someone's opened it up on the cell phone. They have the new patient registration. They fill out their last name, first name. Again, this is fully customizable, whatever you want on here. And the great thing is that this will directly update the patient chart and patient record in Practice Web once they fill all this out. So I'm going to kind of breeze through it here, but you can see insurance information, any comments. They click next after they're done. So again, showing you the insurance section here, but you can click next, and you can add little headings and instructions and all that kind of stuff too. So this is the medical history. They can fill out all their information for that. I'm just going to skip a couple of these fields, but these checkboxes, let's just try that out and see. I want to show you how this information imports directly into Practice Web without any extra effort. So we've marked penicillin and aspirin. We've marked bleeding problems as a medical condition. Everything else is good. And then we're scrolling down. Again, super easy on a phone to do this. And then some other information you want to grab from them, their dental history, etc. Then they can sign it as well right here, save their signature. If they don't save it, they'll be reminded to save it. They click submit. In this example, I've just shown the 2 forms, but you saw how quick that was. I mean, just in the example. Now you can go to retrieve those forms. You go to tools, actually, and web forms. And this is something you should just do once a day or a few times a day. Go in here, click on retrieve new forms, make sure you're in the date range that you want. And this is a great thing here. So let me just pause it for a sec. This is if they put in something that does not match their record. Let's say this Aaron Brothers, the birth date, someone might have typed it in as 1981. Now it's not perfectly matching up. So it's going to prompt you, okay, who is this patient? Now you can do a couple of things. It might show some close matches, or you can select one from the list. I'm going to select one in a second here. So I'm going to click select. I know it's Aaron Brothers. I go right there, click OK. And every form it's going to do this. So any form that's submitted, it'll make sure you're. So if it finds an exact match, it won't do that. But if it doesn't, it'll help you figure it out. Now see right there, what I did right there. Guess what? As soon as I did retrieve forms and I matched up the patient, that form is now already in the patient record. There's nothing more for me to do to get it into the patient record. No importing. It's not even a PDF. It's a digital copy in the patient record, which we'll look at. But this is the point when you're done. Now, if you want to update their record, this is where you can click on forms and see for that patient. When you click on forms, those are all the forms, and they'll never disappear from here. Unless someone were to delete them, in which case you can audit log that, but you can never have them disappear from here. You can check them, check all the information they put in. You can see here the aspirin and penicillin and the bleeding problems that they marked. And you can print this if you want for any reason, but again, we're trying to go paperless, so we try not to do that. But you can create a PDF if you want. If you need to send a copy to the patient, you can do that. But that is a form right there. Now, the part I mentioned about importing the actual data into their, let's say, medical history section. Now, let's take the, not that one, but the other medical history. We're going to import that. And you can see here where they marked aspirin, penicillin, the bleeding problems, and then it's making sure, do you want to import? So again, this is a good thing too, that it doesn't do it automatically, because you want to make sure that you want to actually import that information. You click OK, done. And now if we go check the chart, you can see it's already in there. No one typed it in there. It's already there. No mistakes, possible, because the patient put this stuff, him or herself. It's already showing up in your medical info. So that is the great kind of flow here that we have. And I'm explaining it to you for the first time, so it might seem like there's a lot of steps, but actually I showed you the patient side and the office side in just a few minutes. And once you do this a few times, it'll be like second nature. So the next point I want to mention about signing consent forms, this is something that people don't realize you can do this very easily. But again, if you make this easy, you can get higher case acceptance, right? Take out the friction from the sales process, you get more case acceptance. So how is this done? I'm going to quickly show that. It'll be a little shorter because we've gone through a lot of the basics already. But if I want to send a consent form, first I'm going to set up that template again. I think in this example, I'm going to do the texting. So web forms, again, going there, making sure you have, here's an extraction consent that I've selected. And I will make sure to add that first once it's created in the Sheets framework. I got the extraction consent. I'm going to copy the link to the clipboard. And then I'm going to go over, here's the patient. I want to send that. He's already in the chair, so I want to text it to him, get it all taken care of. I go in here, insert quick paste note. I already have my template set up, so I'm not going over how to do this because we just did for the other form. But here's it set up. Click OK. There's a consent form. Send, and it's done. That literally after it's set up, it takes like 5 to 10 seconds. And now I'm just showing you that it actually got texted. There you can see the text for the extraction consent. I click on it, and here you can see the extraction consent. On their phone, it'll look a little different because it's going to be a smaller screen. It'll look maybe even a little nicer, but you can see they can fill it out, save signature, submit, and they're done. So right there, it's already in your, and then now if you go and retrieve that form, you'll see that it's in their record. You can also email it to them if you set up an email template for common types of consents. So we went over how to set up these consents or these email templates earlier, but this is one that I've done for extraction consent. And there it is. So if I simply click on that, do insert, and you can click send. So usually if they're in the chair and you're using our texting service, then you can just text it. That might be good enough. But if for whatever reason you want to email, you can do it that way too. And so that is really the whole process to get the consent form sent out. And here's how it would look in the email. So I click the same link and I can complete that. Consent forms can be done in the chair. And I believe I'm going to show you here how to import that, retrieve it. So go into there, click on retrieve new forms, boom. So again, as soon as you click that button, the retrieve new forms, and it matched up with the patient, which in this case it matched up, then it's already in their record. You don't have to do anything further unless you want to take a look at it. You can do that too if you want to take a look at it. And let's say you want to see the signature, click on that create PDF, you'll see the signature there and when it was signed. So you're all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted. You can see it there too if you ever want to go back in the, later on and check it out. So really simple. And that's pretty much the consent. Now, I want to mention that you can customize these forms by going to setup and then sheets. And we have covered this in other tutorials and webinars, so I won't go over how to do it right now, but you simply go to that custom right side and pick whichever form you want to customize. You can change all the wording and options as well. Sorry, let me go back there. You can change all the options and wording and add signature boxes and all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can do with customizing forms in Practice Web. Now I want to cover one other method here. So what I covered is mobile forms and online forms that are included in Practice Web. As long as you're on support, you have access to everything I just showed you. Another option some offices really like is the iPad because it, again, makes it a little bit more patient-friendly, easier for them. You don't have to really worry about smartphones, etc. Although pretty much every patient now has a smartphone. But if you want to do an iPad approach, it's another great thing, and a lot of offices are doing this now. We offer this product called NLive by Next Health, and it has a lot of great features to it. Multilingual, integrates perfectly with Practice. I'm going to show you that. There's a family and individual mode. You can also, it automatically checks in the patient and syncs with Practice Web. So let me just show you a quick preview of that. This is one kind of piece of it, which is doing the check-in and how to do kind of any normal forms. So how is that done? We wanted to show it to you. So there's basically 3 requirements for the patient to check in. They put their first name, birth date, and make sure they have an appointment for that day, right? So that's obviously they're in the office because they're having an appointment for that day. So you can see here in Practice Web, we're picking a patient here. And then we see that they have an appointment right there. We're going to add one here just to make sure that it's working out for our demo. So Jane Doe has this appointment. Now the patient can use the iPad app, put in, all they have to do, type in first name and their birth date. Everyone knows that. They click check in. Once they click check in, they are checked in. It'll show like a status update on your schedule that they're checked in. Now they see the forms that they need to fill out. Those forms are going to show up based on what you've added in Practice Web under the forms button for that patient. There's no extra work or extra, kind of steps. And here you can take, like someone was asking about those driver's licenses and all that. So you can take pictures of driver's license and insurance card, and that will also come into Practice Web if you're using the iPad app. And this is how easy it is to fill out. And these are all customizable, forms. And they customize that for free. You fill out all the insurance if as needed. There's an insurance card you can take the picture of using the iPad. Great thing about the iPad is there's a built-in camera, right? So there's no extra gadgets you need for this. That's another point, that there's no scanning of insurance cards or driver's licenses. And so this is really a paperless option. So they're filling out their emergency contact here. Where did they come from? How did they hear about the practice? Sign everything. And all of that is going to be saved into Practice Web directly. So in this one, and it's going to show this. You don't have to, as far as I remember, you don't have to import or retrieve anything. It's automatically put into the patient's record. So this is a consent, example of consent. And click OK, and now you hand it back and the next person uses the iPad and checks in. So now we see in the patient's record, it's already there. Look, there was no retrieving, nothing. It's already there. Everything's filled out the way that you'd want it and signed. Same thing with the consent. It's good to go. And again, you can use this for when the patient's in the chair as well. So not just during check-in, but if you want to give them a consent, you simply add that consent and they'll see it in the iPad. So that's one part of this. The other part is that I want to show is treatment planning. So again, increasing case acceptance by making the process easy. Like they don't have to think or really do much on this. The treatment plan signing. Now, same thing, they would log in as themselves and put their birth date. So you can select any patient. If you want to use that quick queue mode, you can then look at their treatment plans, the ones that are saved for that patient. So let's say you're in the consult room, you look up grab the patient, here are the treatment plans that are saved from Practice Web. And then you decide, okay, we want to sign this one, click on sign. They just have to swipe their finger on that, accept. That's it, they're done. So literally it's so easy. That's it. It's now signed and it's already in Practice Web. So treatment planning is really made easy through this. Now that is all the paperless forms side of the going paperless. And so strategy number one is make your forms paperless. Great. So second strategy I want to cover are, going paperless. So again, it's not just forms, but there's all these other components. I want to cover reminders and marketing. So paperless methods, what we want to do with these things, the reminders and marketing, we want to recover lost production. That's our goal. So if we just look at appointment cancellations, it's pretty well established that on average, there's a 10% cancellation rate in every dental office. And if you use numbers looking at a kind of average practice, 2,500 patients, you look at a loss of about a little bit more than 100,000 per year of lost production from those cancellations and no-shows. Now, if we look at another side of this is what I call the backdoor problem of dentistry, where we have patients leaving out the back door and they never come back. So we have attrition, we have lack of retention. That's roughly 17% for the average practice. And that can translate into even a bigger loss of almost 300,000 per year. So these are two major problems. Again, they could be considered kind of silent killers of a practice, but hopefully you all are up on this and that you're aware of these issues. So these are the two things that we want to help through paperless. We can actually recover this lost production and increase the bottom line. So what I want to really, a lot of these things are done right now through postcards. I'm not, a hater of postcards, but postcards I think have a place. And actually some people say maybe because there's less mail. I don't know if that's true. If I check my mailbox, it's mostly 90% junk mail that I toss. But some people say there's less mail. And so these things are more effective now than before. I don't know if that's true, but I would say no matter what, these paperless methods I'm going to show you are much more effective than postcards. So whether you want to include these paperless methods as a component along with postcards, or you want to replace the postcards, definitely add the paperless component for and I'm talking about your existing patients. So, what we can do here is really, the reason these things are effective is the response rate. So let's compare texting with calling. So texting with calling, about a 209% higher response rate. Most patients are going to be ignoring your calls because they don't have your number saved in their phone, and they might see it as an unknown number or a spam or something. So 97% of people ignore phone calls from numbers they don't recognize. And it's very well likely they don't recognize your number, despite how often they come to your office. When it comes to email, texting is better there too, because you have a 60 times faster response, and only about 25% of emails are read. That's still better than, like, I would say snail mail, but you have a challenge there when it comes to email. However, as I'm going to discuss, email should still be a component, and that's one of the paperless methods. So with text messaging, you may have seen the statistic before in a previous webinar we've done, but I repeat it because I want you to memorize it. 95% of texts are responded to within 3 minutes because they're hard to ignore. And 96% of US American adults use texting, and on average, they're on their phones for almost 3 hours per day. This is all to say that they respond. It's very effective to get their attention. Now, why don't you can think about this yourself, which recall message would be more effective? Now, I'm giving a lot of benefit of the doubt, I would say, on the left side, because I'm assuming the person actually opened up. Maybe it's a postcard, so they don't have to open an envelope, but maybe you sent them an envelope, they actually open it. So that's a success in itself. Now, reading that whole thing and et cetera, who has time? So if they, on the right side, see a pop-up notification, a text message, they can actually see a preview of the message. You cannot ignore that. You have to see that to go to the home screen of your phone. So there's really no way to ignore a text message. It's very, very difficult versus a mail of any sort. So that's going to be more effective on the texting side. Now, we've had experience with our clients where with texting, they've seen up to 90 more recalls scheduled per month. And that is a huge result, right? So, and these are automated recall reminders. This is nothing that you have to manually do. It's all, once you set it up, it's happening like clockwork, and you're getting more recalls scheduled. And so here's an example of what that, you can customize this fully, the text, but this is an example of, it's time for your dental checkup. Please text us or call us to schedule. And you have two-way texting, so they can simply reply with a text that they want to get scheduled, and they can do that. So this is automated. The way it's set up is you can choose, first of all, whether to do it or not. Hopefully you do this, and then you can decide which unscheduled recalls do you want to focus on. So let's say the past 30 days due and future, they're coming up due next 30 days. And then also how many reminders should they get? How often should they get these reminders? So if you set it up like, let's say 2 or 3 reminders, they'll get it once a week until they hit that 2 or 3, and then it stops. And then it repeats, let's say after another 6 months, the whole process. So this is how you can set it up, automated recall reminders. Now, when it comes to marketing, you can also use texting, and I'm also going to go over email in a second, but text marketing, which is separate from reminders, is a huge ROI. Let's give an example here. So let's say we text 2,000 patients 6 times a year. So you have 2,000 patient base, you text them 6 times a year. I don't think that's annoying or too much. They know that you're their dentist. If you make the specials compelling, then they won't get annoyed by this. But let's say 6 per year. So every 2 months you're texting them. 50 patients accept each special. So very low percentage, 2.5%. Let's say you charge $125 for cleaning an exam. Maybe on average you get 300 additional production from issues that you find from the exam. So right there, that's a big production per year from text marketing. And your numbers will vary. Maybe, let's dial all these things back. You only do 3 times a year. You have half for the cleaning exam, half production. That's still maybe 50 grand that you made from just a couple of clicks 3 times a year of production. And again, more importantly, you are seeing the patients that you need to be seeing, and they're getting the care that they need to be getting, right? So it's good for the production side and for the patient care side. So text marketing, and there's a couple other things you can do here where you have your appointment lists. You can click on them and send out texts. If you want to do recall, let's say along with the automated recall, you want to go back 2 years and reactivate. Now you want to do a reactivation text campaign. You can do that through the recall list. You can contact the folks who had planned appointments, but they never got them scheduled, or people that canceled and didn't get rescheduled. You can do all of that. So in every one of these lists, there's a text button, and you can customize what text they get. And this is another example how much you can dial it in, where you can focus on certain types of procedures. I know one doctor on a previous webinar had asked if this can be done, and so I made sure to educate everyone on this. So if you want to focus on certain code range of planned appointments, you can do that too and text them. So these are all different types of text marketing. You can run a full campaign to all your patients. Let's see, an example here is Smiles for Summer special, a free whitening. And if you schedule your recall, you will get this, right? And then you can make it enticing. First 100 patients get the special. You can text back. You can include even an online scheduling link, which I'm going to cover in the next webinar. So this is a power-packed text campaign right here that's really going to pay dividends and get people in the door. Now, that's all texting. Now, what about, you've probably heard about email newsletters, which I truly believe is a really, really important part of your patient engagement strategy. So going back to postcards, the ones that are in the trash can there, hopefully your postcards don't make it there, but many times they do. And so the reader interest is 70% higher when they get an email newsletter versus a postcard. And you can do email marketing in PracticeWeb. It's all integrated. You don't have to export your contacts and get them into an Excel spreadsheet and put it into another software. It's all synced together and done effortlessly. So you can create your email contact list through here, which means it's taking all your patients, putting them into the campaign software. And then we've given you a bunch of templates, and we are always adding more templates that you can use, but you can customize your own as well. So here's that same special I was talking about with the text marketing. Here it is in the email format. So you can send out these marketing campaigns, but you can also do newsletters. So I wanted to show you an example of that here. So here's like, if I want to take one of the templates that we provide, we give instructions on what to do. And then when you read those instructions, obviously you delete this before you send, but those are the instructions. You can put a compelling headline, put out whatever important info you want to put regarding your practice, provide some patient education, dental insights, have a special there with an action button at the top, provide some information about what services you provide that they may not be aware of. And then, maybe you have some new programs you're running, like a new financing thing, or you're now doing same-day emergency care. You can include that. And then you can make it easy for them to refer people to you from this email. So this is just a great newsletter. You can even make them much more fancier. We did a whole webinar kind of on this topic, which you can check out. But this is just to tell you, take that postcard approach paperless through an email newsletter. Now, those are all the strategies I wanted to cover in this webinar. I do want to mention, if you want to take advantage of any of these services that maybe you don't have. So we're running 3 specials here: texting, the mass email, and iPad forms, all 50% off. All have a 30-day free trial where you can see the proof in the pudding. You can save a lot on these different specials, up to $1,500 a year. So I think these are great. And these are, you got to really put it into context in terms of, if I'm paying maybe less than a cost or less of the production of one recare, and if this is going to return me, let's say with texting, 90 recare appointments per month, or even let's say half of that, this is a kind of a obvious investment, a good investment of your money, because you're going to have huge returns on that every month. So these are the specials we're running through the end of the month. And then we also provide an additional discount if you get a couple of them together for each additional tool. If you're not on support, then, so as I said, the paperless forms I covered at the beginning are included in your support. And so if you don't have support, certainly get on support, and you can get that for free with that. And with support, of course, it's not a necessary evil. It's a huge benefit, because you're getting upgrades every 3-4 months with great features and more stability, more security every time. You're getting these paperless forms that I covered. You're also going to have dentist and patient portals where you can, the dentist can check their stuff on the phone, patient can check their information on the phone. You're getting a graph analyzer, a practice analyzer tool. And of course, you can call us anytime and get help with PracticeWeb. So I always say that this is the lifeline of your PracticeWeb, and maybe even of your practice, because you want it. This is a core component in the year 2022 of your practice. So you want to have support. Now, if you want to sign up for any of this, go to our website. We're going to have these links in our email that we send out. But if you just want to go to our pricing page on our website and scroll down, you'll see a big red button that says sign up for Smart Tools to use for this. You can also renew support on there too if you scroll further down. And with that, I think you're ready to go paperless. I do want to ask if you have any more questions. So please, if any final questions, go to that Q&A. Jen, do we have any final questions on the paperless strategies that we covered?
So far.
Okay, great. So I think we did answer some good questions. I'm sure you'll have more as you're implementing this, you're rewatching this later, but contact our support team. I want to remind you that you can get support quickly if you go to help, then click on remote support. A lot of you are using that, and you just fill out the form and we will contact you like ASAP once we get that request. Keep with us, keep learning, keep seeing our events. We're everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. We have a great blog that everyone should be reading, and make it required reading for your team on practice-web.com. Amazing articles on that blog where we give you all kinds of cutting edge strategies to maximize practice web and your productivity and your revenue. So let's learn together. With that, I'd like to thank you for joining us and spending your valuable time. We'll keep trying to provide education and help your office thrive. So with that, I'll close out the webinar. It was a pleasure to join you today, and thanks again for your time. Thank you, everyone, and have a good rest of the day. Goodbye.